In our 15th anniversary episode of Anxiety Slayer, we're going to be sharing a conversation about our friendship and experience together over the last 15 years, how we met, our podcasting journey, some of our favorite moments, and the recognition we've received. Welcome back, Ananga.
Hey, Shan.
Happy official 15-year anniversary.
Thank you. And you.
To celebrate our anniversary, all of the courses in the Anxiety Slayer Academy are half price. If there's a course you've been thinking of enrolling in, this is the time to do it. Visit the Anxiety Slayer Academy and take a peek at all of our course offerings to see which course resonates with you. And you can do so at anxietyslayeracademy.com. This morning when I woke up, I was like, oh my goodness, 15 years. What can we talk about? There's so much we can talk about in our partnership and in our evolution of Anxiety Slayer. It just really started off with the word gratitude and being grateful for being with you on this journey and having such a good friendship and so much support and love for each other and what we do. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I was thinking how it's always been such an organic thing. We never started out with a business plan or branding. It was always a desire to help others and just coming together. And it was all so organic and natural. And it's interesting for me looking back now. I can remember reaching out to you 15 years ago. I can remember where I was sitting, what I was thinking, what my intention was. And here we are with a lot of episodes and listens behind us, but also the friendship we've developed has been really wonderful.
Right.
And connection we've had with some of our listeners who feel like old friends now. And it's been a lovely experience that's just unfolded naturally.
That makes me think about the day we were recording an episode and we realized that we had reached our first 1 million downloads. And we were both just aghast because we weren't even looking at our metrics. We were just showing up and doing our thing. And to be at almost 14 million now is just...
Yeah.
But again, it's the wow with a big smile. And then, okay, well, let's get back to work. Let's do our thing.
Podcasting's changed a lot since we started.
Mm-hmm.
We were not at the beginning, but early days. So I think when we cleared our first 1 million, that was quite an achievement then. Now we've got celebrity podcasters who are probably doing that every episode and more. But when we started 15 years ago, I didn't really know much about podcasting. And I think initially you and I each recorded something short separately, just something that we thought was helpful for about 5 minutes and put those up. And then we came together and started recording more conversationally. And I can remember at a certain point, as I'd put the episode up, it would report 9,000 downloads really quickly after it went up. And that was quite something to adjust to.
Oh, sure.
I used to be quite nervous when we started recording, really putting yourself out there and quite a commitment.
Right.
These days I just feel like I'm talking with you and hoping it's going to help someone. And it's just feels a very normal part of my life now.
And didn't Jonathan Meade, isn't he the young man at the time that thought you and I would be a good fit for each other?
That's what you've said.
That's what I remember. Yeah. Or maybe he brought you to my attention, but you reached out to me. So I was trying to piece that together. I know he's involved somehow.
Yeah. And I can't remember how.
It might have been how you found me through him, like maybe through, because he was a really prolific writer and in a very self-love, self-respect, self-care space back then.
Yeah.
So I suspect that might have been.
Maybe. I remember I had an idea for a project I wanted to co-create with somebody, and I was calling it in my head the Anxiety Rescue Kit. And my intention was just to create a support package at that time.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and I had 3 or 4 people on my list to reach out to. And I remember seeing a picture of you on your porch. And I thought, She looks pretty pitter and pretty cool. I'm not sure. Not sure if she'll go for it. But I was very interested in you and interested in the possibility of working with you. And so I reached out to all three, and you came back first and most definitely in what I now know is true Shan style, very warm, very direct. And we arranged a conversation, and that was that.
That's awesome.
But I didn't have an idea for an ongoing thing or even necessarily. I think the podcast came about as something when we were talking together that we thought we might try.
It did. It did. Yeah, because I just remember you being so kind and easygoing. And also, you were like, I'm not sure how available I'm going to be, but this is what I'm looking at doing. If you have an interest, you were also very straightforward with thoughts and ideas. And then, because we kind of decided in the beginning of Anxiety Slayer to make it be more about a question and answer, where I was asking the questions and you were answering based on your experience with tapping and NLP.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that. I remember you asking me, which was really helpful, about personal strengths and weaknesses and how we might work together.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the availability thing was, I said to you, with my health, that's my only challenge is my health. And I'm not sure how much I'm going to be available with that. But we've always managed to work around it. And there has been a fair few hiccups along the way, but somehow we've always managed to work around it. And you were so kind about that and didn't really see it as an issue. And yeah, we've been able to be very fluid around it.
Well, I think that was one of the things that we both liked, and that we and realized that if we were going to do this, we wanted it to be very flexible and very organic, and not following a really straight outline, but to, obviously there's planning involved, and there's quite a bit of work that we do, but we wanted it to really feel more organically inspired. And so if there were times when we couldn't get together, we'd figure it out.
Yeah, which I think has been why we're still going after 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
There's never been a rigid thing. At some point, we decided to start recording some albums. That was a good time. Creative time for us.
I miss that, Ananga. I would love to do another album. How many did we do? 8, 10? I don't remember.
Yeah, something like 8 or 10. It was quite a run over about 2 or 3 years. At that time, I had a little studio set up, and it was very easy for me to go and record. These days, I don't have that set up anymore. But at the time, it worked, and I would spend hours out in that studio recording different sounds, playing my flutes, different things, and it was a good time. You did the beautiful voice work.
I was always blown away of how you took the voice work and then made it into this beautiful production for each and every track. I mean, that's a lot of tracks over 8 to 10 albums. And what we're referring to are guided relaxations and guided meditations. We're not. I wasn't singing.
You do sing to me a fair bit.
I do.
It's never been released.
The Anxiety Slayer bloopers.
It's all there on the bloopers. But yeah, I think we called them albums just as a reference for a collection. I mean, we had one called Breathe. It was all breathing techniques. We have one called Resonance, which was grounding techniques. Our first was Transition to Calm.
I remember taking the picture for the cover of that.
I remember that.
On Lake Michigan, that wonderful. Oh, so many good memories. And those albums still are available. We have them available at our Patreon. All of them, every single track.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about becoming a patron, they're all there.
Yeah. And another area where we had to really be flexible, because originally they were released to Apple Music via CD Baby. And that was really covering our costs for a couple of years. And that was a time when we did have a bit of a plan to keep recording like that. And it was covering the costs of our web hosting and all the other things that go with podcasting. And then the day came when the model got completely changed to streaming. And that was our income from album sales gone pretty much overnight.
Yeah, just overnight. I just remember we were both so puzzled, and we've been at this so long to see. I mean, even with the podcast measurements now for listening and for downloads, and the number of podcast directories that have gone out of business, the ways that that somebody like Apple can change a few rules and change the outcome for every podcaster that's podcasting, every single one. Okay, well, right, we're gonna make this tweak, and we're gonna take 30% of your listeners away right now.
Yeah, and in terms of the album revenue, it was just gone overnight. So we had to rethink that. But it's always been about helping people. I've always felt that if something's helped me, I want to share it with others. And for me, it's been a really wonderful way to feel that I can hopefully offer a little bit of comfort or support to somebody when I'm living with physical limitations, considerable physical limitations. I used to travel all over the country teaching workshops, and that hasn't been happening for many years. So to be able to sit at home
and to be able to make the contribution that you do, it's so valuable.
I'm just really grateful for this facility. There's been days where I've kind of got to the microphone to meet you and record, and then I've just had to go and take some pain relief and curl up somewhere. But I felt I did something that day, hopefully to bring a little hope or encouragement to somebody. I remember there was a time when I was so sick, I was going to the studio on a mobility scooter, and it was a 30-second walk from my front door. But I couldn't stand and walk it. So I'd go on this little scooter, park up outside, do the recordings, get back on the scooter and drive home. It probably took 15 seconds. But somehow, because I was so happy in my work with you, I was able to maintain good humor about it. I used to call it my daily commute.
Mm-hmm.
It was the shortest commute ever. But for me, it was my commute. It was what got me over there to do the work.
Yeah. Well, and another example of you making the best out of all of it that you can. And you always have. So much gratitude for you, and so much gratitude for our listeners and patrons who have been with us. So many of you have been with us for years and years. I still hear from people that I know were with us right in the beginning.
Yeah.
Receiving your emails and seeing your comments in our Facebook group, and just being able to commune a little bit and to share, and to know that that you're not alone, and that we're going to support you the best way we know how. And so we really thank you for listening and for supporting us, for sure.
That's been lovely, hasn't it? I'm thinking of a few names that I remember from right back in the early days are now regularly there in our Facebook group, or comments come up, and, we now know them as really good, kind people. We're not always able to be physically together, but we have these ways where we can still connect and share together. And that's another incredible facility of being able to meet over Zoom, or originally we were meeting on Skype. I don't even know if Skype's still going. I don't know what happened to Skype.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, and that just made me think when you said, whether we're face to face or together or not, and the fact that you and I have not been in the same room physically in 15 years is pretty mind blowing. And I remember having tickets to come see you.
Yeah.
Right as COVID got insane.
Yeah.
And it wasn't safe to travel, and we had to cancel our plans. We were ready to come.
Yeah.
And that was I'm not hanging on to the sadness, but so disappointing to finally have those plans in place to see each other.
What a strange time that was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was.
But this, for me, shows the power of listening. because we don't even put the video camera on when we meet. We just listen to each other, and we're so attuned now to each other's voices. You know, I can log on to Zoom with you and say, "Hey, how you doing?" And you're like, "Oh, what's up?"
Yeah.
You know, we're living in a time where people aren't so present with each other, even if they're sitting in the same room.
True.
They may be on their phones, and
Yeah.
we just hear each other. We've just got our headsets on, and we're kind of hyped into each other's ears. And we've had some amazing conversations, times, supporting each other, laughs, some really huge laughs,
Mm.
and just developed this friendship of connecting once a week to talk and listen to each other and then record an episode. And something I hadn't foreseen at all,
Yeah.
which has been a huge blessing for me in my life.
Me too. Because not only do we get to nurture and further our connection and friendship, but we get to continually bring up new information and sharing and anything that we can to help people calm their minds and feel better in their bodies and not let anxiety rule their lives. What a gift to be able to do anything that we can in that regard, and to bring forward some what some people might think are far out ideas on how to do it.
Yeah.
I remember hearing from somebody, "What is this Ayurveda? And why are you two always talking about Ayurveda?" I loved answering that. And tapping, that's so strange.
Yeah.
Or what do you mean you're not having caffeine, or your diet is primarily vegetable, or, whatever the case may be. We've just always wanted to bring forward what truly works for us, what we've seen work beautifully, even if it is a little bit out there because it's not mainstream. I mean, Ayurveda for me is one of the most beneficial gifts that you've brought to my life over these last 15 years. I think about things so much differently now.
Yeah.
And how I look after myself.
Gives you a completely different outlook, doesn't it?
It does.
And really, when we first started talking about it, it wasn't so well known in the West. Now, much more well known than 15 years ago. Yeah, I mean, God, the times we've had to say India's ancient science, I feel tired every time I say it, but I feel like for new listeners, we use a lot of terminology that might sound unfamiliar, and I always want to be as accessible as possible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot of re-explaining we've done with tapping as well. I think tapping now's pretty well known. Yeah, again, for us, it's sharing what helps.
Yeah. Well, and without getting into detail, you gave me such a gift yesterday by helping me walk through some tapping, because sometimes it really feels better to tap with somebody else, in my opinion. Sometimes having somebody that you love and trust being there with you to observe or help you figure out what your setup statement is or how you want to tap through things. There's just so much gratitude there and such a gift to be able to do that. So thank you again for that. But it was also this evidence or this reminder to me of just how potent tapping is when you're feeling a bit spun out.
Yeah. I think sometimes when you're mentioning something repeatedly over a long period of time, you can almost feel tired of keep mentioning it.
Right.
But it's so versatile.
Well, that's why we were like, okay, 714 episodes. Haven't we talked about everything?
Yeah. But I think, when we're suffering, we need reminding. We talk about rescue remedy all the time. And I've had days where something really shocking's happened and a friend said, "Have you taken your rescue remedy?" I'm like, "Oh,
I forgot all about that." Yeah.
We need reminding sometimes. We need encouraging.
Yeah.
And I think from what I've heard from our listeners over the years, some of them enjoy our friendship as much as the information we share. They just like hearing two women who get along well together. And I've had letters saying people feel like they're friends and company for them. And I love that.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely love that. That makes me smile every time.
And I also enjoy the fact that we've spent time creating courses, on demand, self paced creation courses that you can really dig into, whether you're suffering with social anxiety or anxiety attacks, or whether you want to learn more about tapping and how tapping can calm your fragile mind. We just have this beautiful library of offerings, and they're all on sale right now for half price. Every single course in the Academy right now that's been published right now is available to you to take a peek at.
That's been a good experience also, hearing how some of those courses, in particular health anxiety, freedom from anxiety attacks, our tapping course, had some really lovely letters and communications. My favourite one being from somebody that said once they learnt tapping, they could talk themselves off the ledge. And I thought that was really wonderful to think that somebody had learnt that skill set and they were able to stop an anxiety attack and tap and feel more calm. That was really a good thing to hear.
Well, I don't know where we go from here, Ananga, but wherever it is, I'm looking forward to it. We're going to continue to show up and create and continue to receive your listener questions, any suggestions and ideas that you have for us. We so appreciate you reaching out and asking. And we recently had a woman reach out and ask about our book recommendations, which we're going to be posting soon in the private Facebook group. Something that we talk about when we come together, but we didn't think of putting together that list. So we'll do that, and we'll continue to listen so that we can show up for you and help you calm your fragile mind and help you find the freedom that you're looking for and the anxiety relief that you deserve.
And if you'd like to join us on Patreon, we have a free membership on there with some guided meditations, and it might be a way where you can come in and keep in touch with us. Facebook's tricky these days. Most of what we post doesn't reach many people with the algorithms. So either keep checking in. If you want to be connected with us in our private Facebook group, check in and have a look at what we're posting because we're there regularly. Or come on board on Patreon as a free member and get some guided meditations. And you can take the poll there, leave us a message of what you'd like to hear, leave us a question if you have one, and keep in touch.
Well, it was nice to have this little trip down memory lane with you. I just am so grateful for you and for our partnership and for the Anxiety Slayer community. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much for being such a brilliant friend over all these years. We've been through a lot together, and I really appreciate you. And I'd just like to send all my love to our community and wish everyone well. And don't give up. Keep trying and stay in the light.
And just to close, to celebrate our 15-year anniversary, all of the courses in our Anxiety Slayer Academy are 50% off right now for the next 2 weeks. Visit anxietyslayeracademy.com and take a peek at all of the course offerings to see which course resonates with you. Just use the coupon code ANNIVERSARY. And again, just visit anxietyslayeracademy.com and check out all of the course creations. Thank you so much for listening and for being a part of the Anxiety Slayer community. We appreciate you.